Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session. I am Gejo, and I'm here to discuss about one of the key aspect of reading comprehension, which is to deal with dense sentences. I know that some of you struggle with this. You start reading a passage, you come across a sentence, you look at a sentence, you go, what is going on? And then you have to read it again. I hope that I will try and address this issue in this particular session. Now, I must also tell you that dense sentences is not sort of the only problem. For instance, let's say that if I give you a passage on something that you really understand, let's say cricket, how much of a complicated the sentence structure is, you'll still navigate it because you understand the topic. The problem typically happens when you have a topic that you are not comfortable with, you're not understand. And for example, the topic is, let's say, on humanism, or maybe something in natural sciences which is a little complicated, uh, stuff like those. So there is that one issue with respect to subject. It could also be that the kind of words that are used, vocabulary, that could be another issue. But here I'm just going to focus on the dense sentences, ladies and gentlemen. Now the first question, of course, is how dense are the cat passages? Now there are different ways in which to evaluate this dense factor of any article. So there are a lot of formulas that are out there which gives you a quantifiable measure in terms of how dense a passage is. One such is this Flesch-Kincaid grade level. What it does is use this formula here and puts in some sort of a grade to it. It goes all the way from 0 till, can go till 20, and so on and so forth. And it basically uses this formula. It looks at one ratio, which is the total number of words divided by total number of sentences. If you have more number of words within a sentence, this is going to be longer and therefore dense. Another thing that is also used is a total syllabus divided by the total number of words. Apparently, if the words have got more number of syllables, that word will be longer and therefore dense. But there are also short words which are actually difficult to understand. I'm sure that it's not the only factor, but this is one quantifiable measure that one can use to at least get an understanding of how dense a particular writing or an article or a book, whatever it is, and also the cat passages. So typically, people will say that if you're writing something, they would say that please keep it to this range. Then most of the people would be able to understand it, and that you want to keep it around 8 to 10 grade when you're writing something. If you're writing something for your website, it is probably better to keep it around 6 7 range, that anyone would be without any problem will be able to understand. But then you get a lot of this writing which gets into this higher grade, which are difficult to understand. A typical way to interpret this is say that a 10 grade essentially mean somebody who have finished the 10 standard would be able to read and understand it. That's what basically that means. So typically speaking, as a graduate, or as someone studying graduation, or maybe some of you completed graduation, these are something that you should be able to handle. But then you get the sense, right? So anything above 16 tends to be genuinely sort of dense. So if you look at the cat of the previous 5 years, so now if you know that the cat from 2017, 18, 19 has got two slots. So those are the two slots, five passages, each five passages, sorry. 2020, 2021, three slots are four passages. Now I put this in descending order in terms of the grade level. You see that in CAT 2070, one of them have was 16.9. Rest of them were pretty manageable. Second slot, everything was manageable. But then as you move along, you can see 16.5, 18.8, 17.1, 20.8, 17.7. That should be in red, by the way. Then you have 15s and 14s and all very dense sort of passages. So yes, we have to deal with dense passage. Okay. Now, the passage is a combination of sentences. So, passage being dense would mean the sentences are dense. The question, therefore, is what makes a sentence difficult? What makes it difficult? Now, we could probably go to grammar and look at the sentence structures. So, if grammar says there are four sentence structures: simple sentence, compound complex sentence. What does the sentence need is subject and verb. We can just have a sentence just with a verb, by the way. Run. That'll be a sentence. Okay. So I ran. So that has got a subject and a verb. But you can, this would be a simple sentence. Aditya studied. It has got a subject. It has got a verb. Now that is not necessarily a simple sentence. It's also a simple sentence, though there are the compound subject, but it's actually talking about this as a group, which Aditya and Neha studied. This is also a simple sentence. Now this is also a simple sentence. Aditya and Neha studied and wrote. By the way, this is also a simple sentence. A simple sentence can have adjectives, adverb, participle phrases, adverbial phrases, and all this. So, for the past 6 months, both Aditya and Neha studied hard for the cat and wrote the cat. This is also, ladies and gentlemen, a simple sentence. So, mind you, a simple sentence or a compound sentence, complex sentence, compound complex has nothing to do with how long the sentence is. It's about how the sentences are constructed. So when you look at a compound sentence, essentially it must have two independent clauses. That's what that means. Independently. So you've got two sort of part which is connected by this conjunction, and but each of these two parts are independent, so that can stand alone as a sentence. So here Aditya studied for the cat on his own, but Neha joined a coaching class for a cat prep. So those two are two independent clauses. That's a compound sentence. When it comes to complex sentence, we have something which is a dependent clause, and then we have an independent clause. That will be a dependent clause. When he finishes his graduation, that cannot stand alone as a sentence. When he finishes graduation, so what do I do with that? Aditya hopes to join top IM. So that's an independent clause, a dependent clause, and independent clause. A compound complex sentence has got at least two uh, independent clauses plus at least one uh, dependent clause. For example, this sentence, this says until the cat is over, which is dependent clause. I have studied every night, independent clause. Otherwise, I would definitely hang on with you, another independent clause. So when you typically look at the sentence structure, how is defined in grammar, this this will help us. But but the density or how long the sentence is has actually got nothing to do with these structures. You can have simple sentence which are long. We can have compound sentence which are relatively short, right? So if you look at this sentence here, what do you make of this? How do you read this sentence? Logical positivism is a school of philosophy originating in Vienna during the 1920s and 1930s that claimed that the real knowledge is based on logical consistency and empirical verifiability. What do we do with this? So let's look at it another way, right? Let's answer the question in a slightly different manner. See, what makes a sentence difficult is not necessarily how long the sentence is about how much long you must wait for a phrase to be completed. You're reading something, you're going, when will this get over? So the phrases are a collection of words which has got some sense of a meaning, right? So you've got one block here, one block here, one block here, one block is too many ideas are presented in the sentence. When will this one block finish, and when will the next one start? When will the third one start? Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, what we'll use is we will simply use logic, right? Common sense and logic. And this, of course, has got foundation in grammar, but let's just use logic here to try and make sense of these sentences and read these sentences, right? Okay, let's start with this. If I ask you to remember these string of letters, you could pause the video, memorize it, and tell me the string of sentence. Chances are you might not remember this. But now if I rearrange this and present you in this fashion, ah, I'm sure you'll remember this. But we can do better, right? So you've got CAT, FMS, DLR, ZAT, QA, IM, VRC. We could even rearrange this and say, okay, we have got some colleges here, FMS and IM, CAT and ZAT are the test, and sections are these three. And I'm sure that you will remember this. This this thing is called chunking, right? When you're collecting things together and then making sense of that. So putting things in blocks. This is a memory tool that most of us actually use. So imagine we have to remember a phone number. How do you remember the phone number? You don't remember independent numbers. You remember in a chunk. You remember this in a chunk. And I don't know whether you have remembered. Look back at things that you remember a lot. You usually remember them in chunk. Some, you've got some logical order in which you've created as mnemonics, for example, is another way to remember things. But how can this be applied to reading comprehension? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Now let's look at this sentence again. If you actually look at it, look at all the terms here. Which is the action word? Which is the verb? Or you can say the main verb. Verbs are the action, right? Verbs are actions. It says claimed, right? Something claimed. What claimed? Positivism is a school of philosophy originating Vienna during the 1920s and 30s that claimed. So, but what claimed? Essentially, logical positivism claimed. So what did it claim? It claimed the real knowledge is based on logical consistency and empirical verifiability. The claim made by logical positivism is the real knowledge is actually based on logical consistency and empirical verifiability. Now, of course, you need to understand what this means: empirical verifiability, consistency, and logical. Beyond that, I'm sure that you can easily understand what's going on here, right? All that is essentially saying, the sentence is saying that oops, sorry, there is some, let's say A makes a claim that this X is based on this P and then a Q. A is claiming that X is based on P and Q. That's basically what the sentence is. Right? Now, when you read this sentence, ladies and gentlemen, okay, this is how you read. Of course, you're starting from one end. You have to read till it makes a chunk. So you can't read logical and then stop logical. But you'll say, okay, you read this from here to here and go. Let me just pick. Okay, uh, okay, you start by reading and saying that logical positivism, okay, we have got a new thought, is a school of philosophy, fair enough. And the next thought is it's a school of philosophy. Okay, now the other idea is originating. Okay, where did it start? Okay, so the point is saying that it originating in Vienna. But when? It originated Vienna during the 1920s and 1930s. Okay, what did that do? Logical this one. It claimed. What did it claim? It claimed that real knowledge. Okay, what about real knowledge? Is based on what? Is based on logical consistency and empirical verifiability. So you see, if you chunk these two things together, you understand the purpose, the reason why certain part exist. For instance, if you start looking at this, so this is our main subject here, which is logical positivism. What is the second part doing? Okay, what is his logical positivism? Helping us trying to understand what logical positivism is a school of philosophy. Now he's giving some more information here about logical positivism, saying that it originated in Vienna. But when did it originate in Vienna? Okay, originated during 1920s and 1930s. So here, from this part to this part here, ladies and gentlemen, that something is a school of philosophy that it originated in Vienna. It originated in Vienna during the 1920s and 1930s, is merely further explaining what logical positivism is. But the point that is being made is that it makes a claim. Logical positivism makes a claim, right? What is that claim? The claim about what? The claim about the fact that real knowledge. What is real knowledge? Real knowledge is now based on what? Real knowledge based on what? Real knowledge is based on these two things, which is our logical consistency and empirical verifiability. So reading in chunks help us understand the sentence better. And then you see that out of which what comes out of it. And what is the key thing out of it is the fact that logical positivism is making a claim about real knowledge, that it is based on logical consistency, empirical verifiability. There are certain part of it, I think, that is not really important to understand the complete story, right? It's merely helping some people understand what that subject is, right? That's it. Now let's look at this sentence. Read it, chunk it, right, and try and make sense of this. You could pause the video if you want. Okay, let's read. So you've got the universal grammar. That should be one part, right? Okay. Now there is an action that I can see here. hypothesis. So universal grammar has a belief. Okay, let's say what that belief is. Okay, is that human languages, and then you have this punctuation here, which is qualifying or modifying that in terms of giving certain extra piece of information of what kind of human languages, or what is the facet of human languages. These human languages, superficially as diverse as they are okay. So that's not part of the original story. Right? We are sidestepping just to help the author is sidestepping from the original story. Just help. Okay, let me just clarify what human language is. Okay, so saying human language, and then it goes on again to say share some fundamental similarities. Okay, it shares what? Share some fundamental similarities and are attribute to innate principles unique to language. And there's a colon. Okay, now let's summarize this. That deep down, there is only one human language. So even if let's say I understand that universal grammar makes a hypothesis that deep down there is only one human language, I can still get a sense of what the sentence wants to tell me. Right? Look at way in which the sentence is structured. Okay, universal grammar. All right, tell me, hypothesis. So what would hypothesize? That should be an e missing. I'm not sure. Okay, so what is the hypothesis about what? That about human language, as superficial diverse as they are, share some fundamental similarities and an attributable to innate principles. You need to language. That deep down, there is only one human language. So there is language one, language two, language three, language four. All of them has got some fundamental similarities. All of them has got some similarity, and all are attributed to some innate principle, inbuilt principle, innate, natural principles, innate principle that we can actually say deep down there is only one human language. This is what universal grammar hypothesis. It is their understanding that we have just only one human language. So what is important from this sentence is merely to understand that universal grammar, there is only one human language. Let's do this. Chunk it. Okay, read, chunk. Go, stop. Okay, go, stop. Go, stop. Okay. Any action words, that's probably a hint. So you just have to uh, over time you'll understand. This will come very naturally. I'm sure there's already coming naturally for many of you who have got good reading habit. Like, it happens very naturally. Okay, let's read. Okay, let's start by saying liberal environmentalism. Okay, you actually see these two things. On one, you have got an action or a verb for the fact that it rejects something, and you've got another one. It's like a compound sentence here. You've got and it contains. Okay, so one, it rejects, and then second is condense, which means it rejects an idea and proposes something else. Okay, what does it reject? Human and liberal environmentalism reject the idea. What idea? That unrestrained market activity can solve ecological problems. That's the idea that they reject. And it contains, what does it propose? That significant government regulatory activity. That's like one chunk, right? Significant. What does significant mean? Significant merely modifying the government regulatory activity. It's an adjective, right? So it's a significant, important, huge. So for example, unrestrained market. So look at this word. Is giving some flavor to this, right? That's what it is. uh, Market activity. What kind of market activity? You've got unrestrained. Oh, great. Market activity can solve ecological problems and contain that significant governmental activity is necessary to prevent environmental damage. Okay, while respecting human rights and maintaining justice. What's happening here? So you've got something X, right? It is making rejecting X reject a particular idea Y, rejects the idea P, and talks about accepts an idea Q. That's basically what the sentence says. So liberal environmentalism, what does it do? So it rejects an idea. What is the idea? Unrestrained market activity can solve ecological problem. Rejects that idea. And then what does it do? It contains that significant government regulatory activity is necessary to prevent environmental language. It's necessary for environmental whatever growth, and that's what they accept. And you can do that along with respecting human rights and maintaining justice. So while government has a role in maintaining human rights justice, so that's the point. So the purpose of this particular sentence help us understand what the view of liberal environmentalism is. Right? Once you read this, you understand what this sentence is actually telling us. Great. Let's look at this one. Why don't you read this, put it in chunk, and tell me what is the key thing that the sentence is trying to tell us. Right? You've got this is one chunk. He's talking about Virginia Woolf. Who is a Virginia Woolf is? English author. Fair enough. English author Virginia Woolf. And you've got uh, these two comma. So who published her major works in the 1920s and 30s? Okay, little bit information here. All right, little bit incident information here. Is generally considered. You got an action. What is she considered? As a significant figure where in literary modernism. All right, so then we have this thing called M dash. Now, this is the purpose of this is to okay. Let me just explain what is literary modernism. You're a reader, you may not know. Let me just give it. I know we are sidestepping this. My hero of the story is Virginia Woolf, but since I've thrown this word literary modernism as a writer, it is my job to ensure that you understand what literary modernism is. Let me just tell you what that is. It's a movement. Okay, literary modernism is what? It's a movement marked by pronounced break with traditional forms and techniques of expression. So it breaks from the traditional forms of techniques. So Virginia Woolf is a significant figure in that movement. So all that is point is saying we have got Virginia Woolf is a significant figure, complete significant figure. Oh, sure. In literary modernism, which is what is literary modernism? Let me just explain that. It's like a traditional form, an expression. It's a break from that. So that's what it is. Let's look at this sentence. It does got two sentences. I think that I picked this passage in one of the earlier lessons, but just read this. Right, again, two sentences. Let's make sense of this. Let's make sense of this. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Present day philosophers. So every time you see this, so you have these philosophers, and then something else is added to that. Okay, let's some context to it. Present day philosopher. Okay, in the previous one we say that okay, we are looking at Virginia Woolf, but then some more stuff. English author Virginia Woolf. Is there here? No. Liberal environmentalism, universal grammar. Of course, it's not there. Okay, in these two cases, we have got some extra bit of information, but that's okay. But the whole thing is we are talking about present day philosophers. There is an action, usually envision their belief. Okay, now, okay, let's understand what they believe. About what? Their discipline. What is their discipline here? Of course, philosophy. They are philosophers. Discipline has to be philosophy. As an endeavor that has been since antiquity. Okay, it's an endeavor that has been since antiquity. From then, distinct from and superior to any particular intellectual discipline such as theology or science. So any particular intellectual discipline such as theology or science, this is giving some examples. Some examples. So what is the sentence actually saying? You've got present day philosophers. They believe that their discipline, which is philosophy, is is since antiquity distinct, superior, since antiquity for every other intellectual discipline. It is superior to everything else. Philosophy is awesome. Let me give some example of other intellectual disciplines: the theology, science. Philosophy is distinct from you guys. Philosophy is superior. Come on. All right. Now the author's belief. Okay, let's look at but the present day philosopher's belief. Let's look at this sentence. It's going all the way from all the way from here, ladies and gentlemen, to all the way here. What a sentence! I can already see one punctuation, two punctuation, three punctuation, four punctuation in one sentence. I can see breaks like this as there's an example. There's one more example that is given. All right, great, no issues, no issue. Let's read. Okay, let's start from the first part. Let's start by saying, okay, such philosophical concern. Okay. Now here the next part is, let me give some example of philosophical concern. I'll give you a few examples as what? As the mind-body problem, or more generally, the nature of human knowledge. So I'm just few examples of philosophical concern. Not really important. Such philosophical concerns. Okay. Then come back and say they believe. Who is the they and what is the belief? The present day philosophers believe. So again, this is coming back and talking about what they believe. Some philosophical concerns such as mind-body problems or some other problem and that problem. Okay, they're philosophical concern. Okay, so that goes with our basic human questions. Okay, whose uh, whose tentative philosophical solutions? The solution. What are they done? What are the solutions done? Have served as a necessary foundation on what? On which all other intellectual speculation has rested. Okay, so all that, what is it saying? There are some philosophical concerns, philosophical ideas. I've given some few examples of it. Okay, whatever is a solution that this philosophical idea has given, that solution has is a foundation. It's a foundation on which every other intellectual speculation has been rested. This is what the present day philosophers believe. Again, coming back to the same thought, the philosophy is awesome. It's superior. It is different. It's superior. There's a belief of these present day philosophers. So, what this paragraph is essentially telling us, paragraph merely telling us, present day philosophers basically believe that philosophy is superior than others. Different, superior. That's it. There is this one paragraph from the passage, one of the passages from CAT 2021, slot number one. A lot of people have looked at this passage and looked at what the hell is going on. This one paragraph with a lot of these ellipsis, that's what it's called. This means that from the original article something has been edited out. So cat does that. Okay. Oh, all right, so let's read this. When we read, how do we read? Okay, we just want to get the sense of it. For the Maya classic, Maya of the classic period. So we have got Maya. What kind of Maya of the classic period? Doesn't matter. This is one block. And there's I think a little more information. Who lived in the southern Mexico, some information that is given for the Maya. Okay. What are we talking about for the Maya? The category of persons. What about this category of persons? Was not coincident with human beings. Okay. As it is for us. Okay. What does that sentence says? Sentence says that for the Maya of the classical rhythm, the way in which we define persons, it's not human beings. Persons are not human beings, not necessarily human beings. We think persons are human beings. Those people thought no. Okay. Now, what is the second part saying? It's now coming back and saying that is okay. It is trying to help us understand. This human beings were persons, okay, but other non-human beings could be persons too. That's all. So far, these two sentences are clearly talking about what the Maya of the classical period thought about persons, category of persons. We think that persons mean human beings. They thought not just human being, but non-human entities could also be person. Okay. Now let's look at in order to explore. So here also we can understand the purpose. In order to explore what the slippages of categories between the slippages of category between humans and non persons, the difference between categories. In order to expound, I have examined. I am a hero. I examined. What did he examine? What did he examine? A very specific category of ancient Maya images. Okay. Okay. What kind of image did you examine? Found painted in scenes on ceramic vessels. That's all. So he's talking about okay. For Maya, the category of persons can include non-human entity. I, for you guys, I have done some work. Okay. To do this, I've examined by looking at some ceramic vessels, painting in ceramic vessel. Okay. And and then again, I sought out instances. What did you do? in which faces some combination of eyes, nose, and mouth. Okay, in bracket. When it comes to bracket, we kind of deal with this better. But when it puts in comma, but in bracket we go, haha, bracket not so important. But if you put into commas, I don't know what to do. Okay, I think that these two comma will do the work as bracket only. No, some combination uh, are shown on inanimate objects. Right. I examine a very specific category of ancient Maya images found in. I sought out instances in which faces are shown in inanimate objects. That's in object, inanimate objects are faces on. And then you have got consider my iPhone. The author is now going and giving an example. So from here to here, we have got one story. I think that there are three ideas here. Collectively, this is talking about one idea, and then you're talking about the next idea. What is that one idea? For the Maya classic, humans, or let's sorry, persons includes humans plus non-humans. I want to investigate this and explore this differences between humans versus person. And I looked at some ceramic vessels, and I did this. This is how we did it. Okay, in the context of the reading comprehension, not will not be that much important. The process is okay. Now he's giving example here, or he or she is giving example. Consider my iPhone. Okay, what about an iPhone? Okay, let's look at some more example, which needs to be fed with electricity every night. All right, swaddled in protective bumper. Okay, and enjoys communicating with other fellow human beings. Okay, I have understood. So what is these reason is this part doing? Okay, we all know this. We have to be fed everything. Swaddle protective bumper. Enjoys communicate other iPhone. Okay, we understood what iPhone is. Okay, now next one. Does it have personhood? Does it have personhood? Is it a person? Because it is connected to me, drawing this resource from me as an owner or source. Look at that. So that says consider my iPhone. It does all these things. Does it have personhood? It's connected to me. It draws resource from me. Is it an iPhone? Okay, now coming back, ladies and gentlemen, for the Maya, who did have plenty of other communicators, if not about what it is. In bracket, we look at bracket, not brackets, in brackets. Who did have plenty of other communicating object, if not smartphones. For the Maya, the answer was no. Just because an iPhone is connected in some fashion, it is not person. Huh? So now explaining for the Maya what is this person would mean. That is what is being explored here with an example of an iPhone. iPhone is not a person. Okay, let's find out who is a person. Non-human persons. Non-human persons were not tethered to the specific humans, and they did not derive their personhood from a connection with a human. Their personhood is not because they connected with the human, right? It is profoundly what democratizing way of understanding the world. Humans are not more important persons. We are just one of the many kinds of persons who inhabit this world. Okay, that's what it is. So what this says here, of course, is the fact that the person is not, just because we are connected with human does not mean that we are a person. We don't require human beings and the connection with human beings to say that I'm a person. Is democratizing way. Every human is as important, not so important. You don't have to have a connection with a human being for it to be a person. So what is the entire paragraph saying? Four ideas, simple idea. For Maya civilization, what is category of person? Humans as well as non-human entities are also persons. Right? To examine this, I've looked at some stuff. Okay. Let me give an example of something fascinating. You look at your iPhone. Your iPhone is connected to you, communicates to you. From a Maya perspective, is it a person? Nah, it is. So the personhood is not because they are connected to human beings. Human beings and non-human entities are all the same. Humans are not special. The person is not derived from our connection to human beings. In itself, there is something else, and then the passage moves. So, for every single passage that we looked at, what you want to do is do this chunking when you're reading, right? Do this logical chunking and try and understand why that sentence exists. The learning is very simple. Chunk words into logical. I'm using the word logical because when I use the word grammar, then you go, now I have to study grammar. I go, what is a what is a participle clause? Participle participle phrase. Participle clause. What is a clause? What is a phrase? What is see, compound complex? You get all that. Don't need just use logic. For a purpose of can let's just simply use we are only logic. No, we have got one thought. What is the one thought? I'm introducing a person. Fair enough. And I'm going to talk what the person thinks. Okay. About a certain things. That's a logical stuff. You look at every single passage that we did here, then you can look at logic. Let's start, for example, from here. So there is something called logical positivism, some philosophy. Basically, they make a claim about real knowledge. Real knowledge is based on consistency. Okay, so a lot of logic is required for knowledge. Evidence and logic is required for knowledge. That's what is mentioned. Universal grammar. Okay, they have a the belief. What is it? There is just one universal language. Whatever diversity exists, all are connected together with some innate principles to make it the human language. Okay, liberalism. Okay, we reject something. We don't like unrestricted market activity. You can't solve ecological problem. We need significant government regulatory activity that will prevent environmental damage. Huh. Virginia Woolf, na? English author. Okay, Virginia Woolf. Oh, it's amazing figure in literary modernism. You know what that is? It is a breakaway from traditional forms of writing. Okay. Present day philosopher, no, they think philosophy is awesome, superior than anything else. There are a lot of concerns, mind body problem, this, that, blah, 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 but forget all that. But basically, whatever the solution that these philosophical ideas gives, that has become a foundation for everything else. And this has been there since antiquity. What is for Maya? You know Maya? You don't know Maya? Some comma, just read it, okay? Not important. Just read it. Maya of the classical period. For them, persons is not just humans, also non humans. Oh no. How? Okay, let's understand this personhood. Also, this human, the personhood is not because of any attachment to humans. Just you have iPhone is attached to you. But iPhone's personhood is not derived because of your attachment with humans. Humans are not special. Oh, we should learn more about this personhood of Maya classical period. Chunk words into logical blocks. And every time once you finish solving reading comprehension passage, right? So you might not be able to do it at the get go. But once you finish the logical reasoning passage, you come back and look at the same passage. And sometimes what we end up doing is that we get bogged down by some part which which is not probably very important to understand the story. But therefore after every reading comprehension passage that you do post the test, go back and look at a thorough analysis of the passage. You learn more. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, this made a lot of sense to you. I'll see you again. Let me know in the comment box what kind of topics you want me to cover, and I'll do that. Goodbye.